The Irrational Confidence Podcast.
It's the Ole Miss Rebels. Poor Ole Miss. Raise your fans up to bring them down. They're going
to call it Old Make.
Yep. They go taking them all the way to Columbia, South Carolina. They're facing the South Carolina Gamecocks. At time of record, Ole Miss is a 9-point road favorite. Over-under is set at 52.5. Is this a get-right game for Ole Miss, or is this – do we see the beginning of the end for the Rebels and their playoff hopes fresh? They're on life support at least.
Have you ever seen the show Succession on HBO?
Like once or twice.
Well, there's a famous scene where obviously the patriarch sort of looks at all of his kids and everyone's like, "You are not serious people." And that's kind of where if Ole Miss loses this ball game, we start looking at Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and be like, "You're not serious people." And Ole Miss, basically, you're about to lose your coach to Florida. I didn't think it was possible before, but if Lane Kiffin loses to Kentucky and South Carolina back-to-back weeks, the playoff, in my opinion, at that point, you're on extreme life support. And it just shows that all your NIL collective, everything you've done to get here is a waste because Jackson Dart's not going to be there next year. Walton Nolan's not going to be there. He'll be gone very soon. Prince will, the defensive lineman will be gone. You already lost Judkins. Like, you start seeing people leave the program. Henry Parrish will be gone. Trey Harris, maybe. It just all will fade and you will just disappear. You have to have this ball game. Defensively, gave up only 20 points last week, and you actually were gritty. It was the offense, in my opinion, that was the problem. You were not physical enough on the offensive side of the ball to extend drives and to make plays. Kentucky's defense punched you in the mouth all afternoon. Your defense actually was able to get after Brock Vandegrift. They got a lucky fumble. They scored a touchdown. That fluke, whatever, but they still scored. They scored on the fourth down play. Your defense stood tall. Your offense, which is supposed to be your meat and potatoes, supposed to be the backbone of the program, was non-existent. Jackson Dart leads the SEC in passing yards over 1,800. But what have you done with it? You beat a terrible Wake Forest team. You beat two other slappies. And then your SEC opener, I believe, is Kentucky, who hadn't won in Kentucky since 1978. And folks, I know Seth and I are old, but we were not born in 1978. We were far from being born at that point. It's been a while. And you walk down there and you gave up a clunker. You've got to be ready because Kentucky was desperate. They almost beat the Dogs. They come into this ball game off of bye. They beat Ohio. They're coming out in this ball game ready to go and ready to reestablish an attack. Hearing a lot of heat on, Stoops and all that, and they fought hard. Shane Beamer's kind of in the same situation. South Carolina, after that loss to LSU, which was painful. They had that ball game. There's controversy along the refs. The Sellers got dinged up in that ball game. They had it. They blew a lead. They lost. People start looking at Shane Beamer. Is he the right guy for that program? Is he going to get the Gamecocks to the next level? So here you come in a desperate team, a team that destroyed Kentucky. How do you respond? A defense that for South Carolina in the first half of the LSU game and the entire Kentucky game absolutely dominated the football field. How are you as offense going to be able to prepare, make adjustments, and go and attack that defensive line, that defensive front for South Carolina, much less the entire defense as a whole? If Shane Beamer's team and they're hungry for a win in the SEC, hungry to stay relevant in the league, they're going to have the home crowd running. It's a 3:30 kick, which used to mean something, doesn't anymore. You've got to be sharp and on point. You've got to attack South Carolina right away. If you let them hang around, eventually that defense is going to get a couple turnovers, 4 short fields. Sellers is going to start running and hitting his playmakers, and you're going to be reeling. You're not going to be able to catch up. It's going to spiral like an avalanche, and you're going to be out of it. Jackson Dart, you've got to be focused on what you have to do. Get the ball to your receivers, get the ball to your running backs, tight ends, whoever it needs to be. You've got to be efficient on first and second and third down and score touchdowns, not settle for field goals. Because obviously your kicker missed a gimme. South Carolina, if you want this ball game, do what you did versus LSU. Sellers being mobile, hitting receivers, hitting big plays. Let the crowd continue to stay involved. And defensively, you got to hunt. You've got to hunt and get after Jackson Dart. Play with reckless abandon. Play with desperation. Because if you're 0-2 in the league, people already kind of doubt, or 1-2 in the league, That's going to start creeping in. That's going to start creeping in, and you're not going to how you're going to be able to catch up. You have a chance right here to get a big upset, make up for that loss to LSU, take down Ole Miss, take down I think the top 15 now according to AP. It'd be a program sort of turnaround win for South Carolina. This is your chance. You've done it in the past. In 2022, nobody gave you a chance for Tennessee. I'm not saying it's the same team, but nobody gave you a chance for Tennessee, and you beat the living trash out of them at home. You have a chance right here to make a statement and continue to keep yourself relevant in the SEC. Ole Miss, do not overlook this trip to Columbia. If you do, you're going to be 0-2 in the league. Your playoff hopes are done, and maybe the entire program, as we know it now, could just crumble like Rome, and be just an afterthought. This is a fork in the road for Ole Miss. You've got to win. You've got to win convincingly and keep yourself going. And if you lose, that's 0-2 in the league. Rumors start really heating up. Kiffin going to Florida, et cetera, et cetera. And before you know it, the season's done. Playoff hopes, SEC championship hopes, all the stuff are gone. And it's a lot of pressure because Ole Miss has actually never played in the SEC title game. Your own cross-state rival, Mississippi State Bulldogs have, Arkansas has. You have it. If you don't do it this year with quote-unquote your best team or one of your top 5 best teams ever, will anyone ever take you serious? I'm going to actually go with South Carolina. I'm going to say they pull off the upset 34-30, just because I don't know if Ole Miss has the heart to fight it out for a full 60 minutes. After what I saw versus Kentucky, they looked defeated, and I don't know if they have the heart to take it on the road and go into a hostile environment, Williams-Brice, and get it done. Shane Beamer and Gamecocks take care of business and pull off the major upset.
Impressive, Fresh. Very most impressive. First thing I'm going to say about Ole Miss, I'm going to flip over because there's 2 questions I have for them. First and foremost, Walter Nolen, big-time recruit, supposed to be the next great pass rusher. 0.5 sacks on the year. Where you at? Where you at? Because there's no way that this team, I know they have 18 total team sacks on the year. What you could easily say, and again, say, well, Walter Nolen is commanding double and triple teams and opening up for everything else. Yeah, okay, maybe, but I would expect him to at least dominate at some point during the season where he really gets after it. I need to see something out of him to kind of give him that crown as the best pass rusher in this. I know it's really the argument between him and Pierce over there in Tennessee that we're going to talk about here shortly. I need to see something more out of the Ole Miss defense. The other question I have for them, too, is I know Henry Parrish has been really like a nice running back for you, but is he doing anything more than what Quishon Judkins would have done for you? Are you showing how much you miss Quishon Judkins and in his ability to break off a big gain in this? You take a look, Parrish has as long as 42 on the year. He's got the 8 scores, good for him. But is he really doing something different that Judkins would have done for you? My answer is no in that regard. Now, for Ole Miss going into this game, really, South Carolina, I'm hoping Lenore Sellers is playing in this game. He didn't play the last week prior to the bye.
As of this afternoon, they said he was all good to go and fully healthy.
Okay, good to hear for that.
Something to keep an eye on. This is a Monday night. Give something to keep on the rest of the week.
Right, exactly. And you take a look at South Carolina. South Carolina is doing this, and they're playing Beamer ball almost, where you're playing really good defense and running the football. That's how they're being successful in South Carolina. Ole Miss, it's really been your passing attack. I know everyone's going to point to Trey Harris in this one, but I'm going to give you a name, Antoine Wells Jr. He's making his return back to Columbia. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year. Expect a big game out of him. A big game out of him. South Carolina.
Pull there. Deep pull, Seth. Well done.
Yeah, well, I'm good for occasional 1 or 2 of those and some song references. In this game, though, it's going to come down to, can South Carolina get after the quarterback? Can they force Jackson Dart into some turnovers? I don't think they're going to be able to do enough. I think they're going to do enough to keep this game close. I would take South Carolina in the points. I like Ole Miss to win outright, though, in this football game.
I tell you right now, if Georgia Auburn gets out of hand, which it probably should, this is a game that you might want to turn on and pay attention to and watch. They're both at 3:30. This one will be keep an eye on for a lot of fireworks.